centuries to carve his name into the stones of history. His story is not merely one of conquest, but of vision, a tale of unity in a time fractured by war and discord. He was Cyrus the Great, the architect of an empire that would stretch from the Mediterranean to the Indus, leaving behind a legacy that echoes across millennia. Cyrus was more than a king. He was a dreamer and a builder, a conqueror and a liberator, a ruler whose actions forged the bedrock of civilization as we know it. But before we begin, I want to welcome you all to ASMR History, a soothing space where stories of the past come alive. Here, I explore not just the dates and events, but the humanity that shaped them. Tonight, I invite you to journey back with me to 6th century Persia, where one man transformed scattered tribes into the first great empire of the ancient world. Relax, settle in, and let the gentle whispers of history transport you to an era of ambition and innovation. To understand Cyrus's greatness, we must first grasp the world he sought to conquer. The ancient Near East was a tumultuous landscape, a jigsaw puzzle of kingdoms vying for supremacy. The Medes held sway over the Persian highlands, their rule marked by rigid control and fragmented loyalties. To the west, Lydia prospered under the legendary King Croesus, whose wealth was rivaled only by his ambition. Babylon, under King Nabonidus, stood as a bastion of cultural and military might, its walls towering like mountains over the Euphrates. Meanwhile, the Elamites, once powerful, lingered as a shadow of their former glory. Amid this chaos, a vision was born, one that sought not destruction, but unity. Herodotus, the father of history, once wrote, "Cyrus emerged from obscurity to bind together a fragmented world." His words capture the essence of Cyrus's ambition. In a time when rulers sought to dominate through fear, Cyrus would lead with a different kind of power, one rooted in respect, tolerance, and innovation. He didn't merely aim to conquer, he sought to transform, to create a world where diversity was strength and unity a path to greatness. In our journey tonight, we will explore Cyrus's extraordinary life, from his humble beginnings as the child of prophecy to his legendary conquests that redefined the ancient world. Every step of his story brims with intrigue. We'll unravel how he toppled empires, from the Medes to the mighty Babylonians, and delve into his revolutionary policies of governance that earned him the admiration of subjects and foes alike. As we whisper through time, you'll see why Cyrus remains one of history's most celebrated figures, revered for his wisdom as much as his power. But for every hero's rise, there is a beginning. To truly understand Cyrus the Great, we must start at the very roots of his story. It begins not on the battlefield or in the grandeur of an empire, but in the quiet lands of Anshan, where the seeds of greatness were sown in the heart of a boy destined to change the world. Let's take a closer look at his early life and the journey that set him on the path to immortality. Beneath the endless Persian skies, a boy was born who would one day challenge the stars themselves. Around 600 BCE, in the ancient land of father, Cambyses I, ruled a modest kingdom as a vassal of the powerful Median Empire. His mother, Mandane, was the daughter of the Median king, Astyages, a union that symbolized alliance, yet hinted at the complexities to come. From the very beginning, Cyrus's destiny was entwined with prophecy and ambition. According to legend, Astyages was plagued by a series of vivid and ominous dreams that foretold his downfall at the hands of his own kin. In one vision, he saw a vine growing from Mandane, his daughter, whose branches stretched to cover the entire land, an unmistakable symbol of a ruler destined to overshadow him. Fear gripped the king as he interpreted these dreams as warnings from the gods. In a desperate bid to thwart fate, Astyages took the extraordinary and chilling step of ordering the death of Mandane's newborn son. But fate, as it often does in such tales, had other plans. Astyages entrusted the grim task to Harpagus, his most loyal general, who was torn between obedience to his king and his own sense of morality. Harpagus devised a grim solution. He handed the infant to a shepherd named Mithridates, instructing him to leave the child to die in the wilderness. However, Mithridates' wife, who had just lost her own newborn, was moved by the sight of the helpless infant. Together, they decided to raise the child as their own, far from the reach of Astyages' wrath. Thus, Cyrus spent his early years in secrecy, growing up among the rugged hills and humble shepherds of Persia. He learned resilience from the harshness of the land and wisdom from the simple truths of rural life. Yet, even in this obscurity, his royal heritage seemed to whisper through his every action. His natural leadership and charisma, even as a boy, set him apart from his peers. Plutarch would later write, "Cyrus was born not to serve, but to rule," an observation that captured the inevitability of his rise. These formative years forged the man who would one day unite tribes and topple empires. The simplicity of his upbringing did not diminish his destiny. Rather, it prepared him for the trials ahead, imbuing him with a profound understanding of his people and a rare humility that would guide his leadership. It was in those hills, under the shadow of his extraordinary fate, that the seeds of greatness were sown. By the time Cyrus came of age, the truth of his identity could no longer remain hidden. The shepherd's son had grown into a young man of striking charisma and intelligence, exuding a natural authority that set him apart. His keen mind and exceptional leadership skills were impossible to ignore, marking him as someone destined for greatness. When the secret of his royal lineage was finally revealed, it was as though a dormant flame had been ignited. Returning to Anshan, he entered his father's court to find a land simmering with unrest. The Persian tribes, though fiercely proud of their heritage, were deeply fragmented, their unity shattered under the heavy yoke of Median domination. Cyrus, with his sharp vision, recognized this turmoil not as a hindrance, but as an opportunity. He understood that the Persians yearned for more than just freedom. They craved a sense of shared purpose, a cause greater than themselves. To him, the challenge was not merely to himself, but to weave the threads of his fractured people into a single, unbreakable tapestry. This was a vision of independence rooted not in rebellion alone, but in the promise of a better future. With that vision, Cyrus began to prepare for a journey that would change the course of history. The young leader began cultivating alliances, forging bonds with discontented Persian factions and Median dissidents alike. Among his most critical allies was Harpagus, the very general who had spared his life as an infant. Disillusioned with Astyages' cruelty, Harpagus became a vital conspirator in Cyrus' plans to overthrow the Median Empire. Together, they laid the groundwork for rebellion, a feat that required not only strategic brilliance, but also immense courage. Cyrus knew he was taking on an empire that had ruled unchallenged for decades. Cyrus's first act of defiance came in 553 BCE, a bold and calculated rebellion against his grandfather, King Astyages of Media. This uprising was not merely a battle of swords and shields. It was a clash of ideologies that would define the ancient world. On one side stood Astyages, whose reign was marked by rigidity, fear, and oppressive rule. On the other was Cyrus, a visionary leader offering a promise of unity, fairness, and a world where power could be wielded with wisdom rather than cruelty. This conflict was as much about shaping the future as it was about overturning the past. The battles that followed were fierce and unrelenting, a testament to the stakes involved. Astyages, though a powerful king, underestimated the resolve and brilliance of his grandson. Cyrus proved himself not only a master tactician, but also an inspirational leader. He rallied his forces, a mix of Persian tribes and disillusioned Median factions, with unmatched fervour, painting a vision of a better world that transcended loyalty to a tyrant. His strategies were precise, exploiting the weaknesses of the Median army with surgical efficiency. Where others saw obstacles, Cyrus saw opportunities, turning every challenge into a step closer to victory. The decisive moment in this rebellion came when Harpagus, a trusted general of Astyages, defected to Cyrus' side. Harpagus had long harboured resentment against Astyages, who had cruelly punished him years earlier. His defection was more than a military coup. It was a signal to the Median forces that Cyrus's cause was just, and his leadership worthy of their allegiance. With Harpagus leading a significant portion of the Median army to join Cyrus, the tide of the conflict turned dramatically. The final confrontation saw Astyages' forces crumble under the weight of their divided loyalties and Cyrus's unyielding determination. But Cyrus's victory was not merely one of arms, it was a triumph of ideals. He won not just battles, but the hearts of those who yearned for change. To many, Cyrus was more than a conqueror. He was a leader worth following, a unifier who could transform a fractured land into a cohesive empire. This was the beginning of something far greater than a rebellion. It was the dawn of Persian greatness. The fall of Ecbatana, the great Median capital, was not just the end of a kingdom, it was a turning point that reshaped the trajectory of ancient history. For Cyrus, this victory was far more than a military conquest. It was an opportunity to redefine the nature of rule itself. As he entered the city, he did so not as a conqueror seeking vengeance or destruction, but as a liberator with a vision for a new and transformative order. Ecbatana, with its wealth, cultural sophistication, and strategic importance, was not looted or ravaged, but integrated seamlessly into Cyrus's burgeoning empire. In an act that set the tone for his reign, Cyrus spared the city's inhabitants, demonstrating a level of restraint and wisdom that was rare for his time. He treated the conquered people with dignity, a decision that won their loyalty rather than their resentment. Ecbatana's treasures and resources were not squandered in plunder, but carefully absorbed to strengthen the foundation of his growing Persian state. By respecting its legacy while incorporating its assets, Cyrus turned the Median capital into a vital cornerstone of his empire, a city that symbolized both continuity and change. Herodotus, reflecting on this pivotal moment, wrote, "The fall of Media marked the dawn of Persian greatness." These words capture the essence of Cyrus's vision. He was not content to merely inherit the Median throne or expand his dominion by force. His ambition was far greater: to transform the legacy of the Medes into an empire that thrived on respect, tolerance, and inclusion. Under his leadership, the remnants of Median rule were not discarded, but reimagined within the framework of a united Persian identity. For Cyrus, the conquest of Media was just the beginning. He sought to establish a realm where power was wielded, not through fear, but through justice and collaboration. His actions in Ecbatana were a reflection of his broader philosophy. An empire could only endure if it earned the trust and loyalty of its people. In sparing the city, valuing its people, and building on its foundations, Cyrus demonstrated a revolutionary approach to governance that would set the Achaemenid Empire apart from all others. It was here, in the heart of Media, that Cyrus began to lay the groundwork for a legacy that would echo through the ages. Cyrus's success in overthrowing Media reverberated across the ancient world, shaking the foundations of neighbouring powers like Babylon, Lydia, and Elam. Yet his ambition was far from sated. He envisioned an empire that would unite these fractured lands into a single, cohesive force. As he looked beyond the borders of his fledgling domain, the next phase of his journey awaited: the conquest of lands vast and varied, and the building of an empire that would forever alter the course of history. To build an empire, one must not only conquer, but inspire. For Cyrus the Great, the art of empire building was as much about strategy as it was about vision. With the Median Empire under his control, Cyrus turned his attention westward to Lydia, a kingdom known for its wealth, ambition, and formidable ruler, King Croesus. Croesus, the fabled king of Lydia, was renowned not only for his immense wealth, but also for his confidence in his own strength and the alliances he had carefully cultivated. The growing power of Cyrus had not gone unnoticed in Sardis, but Croesus, Secure in his riches and bolstered by the support of neighbouring powers, underestimated the Persian king. In 547 BCE, emboldened by his belief in his military superiority, Croesus launched a campaign against Cyrus, certain that he could halt the Persian rise before it threatened Lydia. Yet, he was stepping onto a battlefield far removed from the halls of his gilded palaces, a battlefield where Cyrus's cunning would outshine Croesus's arrogance. Cyrus, ever the strategist, was prepared. He recognized that Croesus's strength lay in his powerful cavalry and the confidence it inspired. Using his sharp understanding of human nature and the psychology of war, Cyrus devised a plan to turn Croesus's own boldness against him. As the Lydian army marched deep into Persian territory, they were met not with a defensive stand, but with an apparent retreat. Believing he had the upper hand, Croesus pursued, unaware that he was being drawn into a carefully laid trap. When Cyrus counterattacked, the Lydian forces, overextended and unprepared for the ferocity of the Persian assault, were forced to retreat to Sardis. The decisive moment came at the Battle of Timbra, a confrontation that would cement Cyrus's reputation as a master tactician. Croesus, regrouping within the fortified walls of Sardis, gathered his formidable cavalry for a final stand. But Cyrus had anticipated this move and devised an unconventional strategy to neutralize Lydia's greatest advantage. Knowing that horses are inherently skittish around unfamiliar animals, especially those with strong and unusual scents, he ordered camels, creatures the Lydian cavalry had likely never faced in battle, to be positioned at the forefront of his army. As the two forces clashed, the camels' overpowering smell and imposing presence caused Croesus's prized cavalry to panic and scatter, throwing the Lydian lines into chaos. This brilliant use of psychological warfare underscored Cyrus's ability to turn even the most ordinary tools into weapons of innovation. Croesus, who had placed so much faith in the strength of his alliances and the might of his cavalry, was left defenceless against an enemy who could outthink him at every turn. The battle was not only a crushing defeat for Lydia, but a stark reminder of Cyrus's genius, a leader who understood that wars were won not just on the field, but in the minds of men. With the battle was over before it began, and Sardis fell soon after. Croesus, captured but treated with respect, reportedly reflected on the fleeting nature of wealth and power. Xenophon later wrote, "Cyrus's cunning turned the tide of war." For Cyrus, the conquest of Lydia was not merely about seizing territory. By incorporating its riches and trade networks into his growing empire, he laid the economic foundation for Persian dominance. Yet Cyrus knew an empire could not endure on the spoils of war alone. Its people must believe in its cause. With Lydia subdued, Cyrus set his sights on Babylon, the jewel of the ancient world. Under King Nabonidus, Babylon was a city of breathtaking splendour but simmering discontent. The king's neglect of Babylon's religious traditions had alienated the priesthood, while his erratic policies left the populace yearning for stability. Cyrus saw an opportunity to expand his empire and win the hearts of the Babylonian people. In 539 BCE, Cyrus set his sights on the great city of Babylon, the jewel of Mesopotamia, renowned for its towering walls, advanced civilization, and rich cultural heritage. The task before him was daunting. Babylon was protected by seemingly impenetrable fortifications and the natural barrier of the Euphrates River that flowed through the heart of the city. But Cyrus, with his characteristic ingenuity and audacity, devised a plan that would become one of the most brilliant tactical maneuvers in ancient military history. His forces undertook the monumental task of diverting the course of the Euphrates, a feat that required both engineering skill and precise coordination. As the river's water levels dropped, Cyrus's army marched through the newly exposed riverbed, bypassing Babylon's towering walls and breaching its formidable defences with minimal resistance. The operation was carried out with flawless precision, demonstrating the remarkable discipline and strategy of the Persian forces. What happened next was nothing short of extraordinary. In an age when conquest often meant the wholesale destruction of cities and the subjugation of their people, Cyrus chose a different path. Instead of pillaging Babylon and enforcing Persian dominance through fear, he proclaimed himself a liberator. He restored the city's religious practices, revered its gods, and ordered the rebuilding of temples that had fallen into disrepair under the rule of King Nabonidus. The Babylonian Chronicle, a contemporary account, captures the significance of this moment, stating, "He entered Babylon not as a conqueror, but as a liberator." By respecting Babylon's cultural heritage and spiritual traditions, Cyrus not only solidified his control over the city, but also earned the loyalty and admiration of its people. This approach was groundbreaking, setting a precedent for governance through inclusion rather than oppression. The Babylonian people, long discontented under Nabonidus' erratic reign, welcomed Cyrus as a saviour. The city, once the pride of Mesopotamia, now became a shining gem in the Persian crown, its wealth and influence seamlessly integrated into the Achaemenid Empire. For Cyrus, the conquest of Babylon was not just a military victory, but a statement of his philosophy. An empire could thrive only when its people felt respected and valued. It was this vision of leadership, one that blended strength with humanity, that ensured Cyrus's place as one of history's most admired rulers. The integration of conquered territories was where Cyrus's genius truly shone. He understood that the strength of an empire lay not in its borders, but in the unity of its people. After conquering a land, Cyrus allowed its inhabitants to maintain their traditions, languages, and religions. He appointed satraps, regional governors, to oversee provinces while granting them a degree of autonomy that ensured loyalty and stability. This decentralized approach became the backbone of the Achaemenid Empire, enabling it to thrive for centuries. Cyrus's conquests were not mere military triumphs, they were acts of unification. Each new territory brought with it unique challenges, yet Cyrus approached these challenges with wisdom and empathy. over cities. He built bridges between cultures, fostering an empire that was as diverse as it was powerful. Yet, for all his victories on the battlefield, Cyrus's greatest legacy lay in the principles by which he ruled. As his empire expanded, so too did his reputation as a leader who governed with fairness and respect. The next chapter in his story would redefine what it meant to rule an empire, proving that Cyrus was not only a conqueror, but also a revolutionary statesman whose policies would echo through the ages. Cyrus the Great was not just a conqueror, he was a visionary who understood that ruling an empire required more than might. His governance reshaped the ancient world, setting a precedent for leaders who followed. Through policies of tolerance, innovation, and organisation, Cyrus crafted a realm where diverse cultures could coexist and flourish. Among the most profound symbols of Cyrus's revolutionary governance is the Cyrus cylinder, often regarded as the first declaration of human rights. This clay artifact, inscribed in Babylonian cuneiform, proclaims Cyrus's policies of religious tolerance and cultural respect. It describes how he restored temples and sacred objects to their rightful places, reversing the oppressive practices of previous rulers. His edict to allow the exiled Jews to return to Jerusalem and rebuild their temple earned him a unique place in history. The Bible reflects this gratitude in the words of Isaiah. Cyrus is my shepherd, and he shall fulfill all my purpose. To the Babylonians, he was a liberator, to the Jews a saviour. The significance of the Cyrus cylinder extends beyond its immediate historical context. It reveals a ruler who recognised that the strength of an empire lay in its diversity. By respecting the beliefs and traditions of his subjects, Cyrus inspired loyalty and unity. He turned conquest into cooperation, demonstrating that an empire built on respect could endure where others had crumbled under tyranny. But Cyrus's vision for governance did not stop at cultural tolerance. To manage his vast empire efficiently, he devised an innovative system of administration. Satrapies. Each satrapy, or province, was governed by a satrap, a trusted official who acted as the king's representative. These governors had significant autonomy, overseeing local affairs, taxation, and defence. In return, they owed unwavering loyalty to Cyrus. This decentralised system ensured regional stability while allowing the empire to respond swiftly to challenges. Effective taxation played a crucial role in this governance model. Rather than imposing a uniform tax rate, Cyrus tailored taxation to the resources and capabilities of each satrapy. This fairness minimised resentment and ensured a steady flow of wealth to fund the empire's infrastructure, armies, and administration. The satrapy system became a cornerstone of the Persian Empire, enabling it to thrive long after Cyrus' reign. Cyrus also understood the importance of maintaining a strong and organised military. His armies were not just tools of conquest, but pillars of defence and control. He professionalised his military forces, ensuring they were well trained, disciplined, and loyal. Soldiers were drawn from across the empire's vast territories, reflecting its diversity. This included inclusivity fostered a sense of shared purpose among its ranks. Logistical innovations further strengthened the Persian military. Cyrus established supply lines and depots to support his troops during long campaigns, a strategy that allowed him to project power across vast distances. Communication was another critical element of his success. The famed Royal Road, a network of highways spanning the empire, facilitated the rapid movement of messages, troops, and resources. It was said that a message could traverse the empire in mere days, a feat unparalleled in the ancient world. To ensure the integrity of his governance, Cyrus employed a sophisticated intelligence network known as the King's Eyes and Ears. This corps of spies monitored the satraps, reporting directly to the king. It was a system designed to prevent corruption and rebellion, ensuring that even the most distant provinces remained loyal to the central authority. While this may seem harsh, it reflected Cyrus's understanding of human nature and the need for vigilance in maintaining unity. These policies, cultural tolerance, administrative innovation, and military professionalism form the backbone of Cyrus's empire. He ruled not through fear, but through respect, fairness, and organization. It was a revolutionary approach, one that distinguished him from the despots of his time. As his empire flourished, Cyrus's legacy grew. His governance was not merely an exercise in power, but a blueprint for future empires. Yet, even as he strengthened his realm, Cyrus knew that an empire's true strength lay in the principles it upheld. The values he enshrined would echo across centuries, influencing rulers from Darius I to Alexander the Great. The story of Cyrus's life is incomplete without understanding his final chapter, a tale of ambition, sacrifice, and enduring legacy. His death, though tragic, was not the end of his impact. The empire he built and the ideals he championed would continue to shape the course of history. Cyrus the Great, the man who had forged the largest empire the world had ever seen, met his end not in the grandeur of a palace, but on the harsh and unforgiving battlefield of Central Asia. By 530 BCE, his empire stretched from the Aegean Sea to the Indus River. Yet Cyrus was not one to rest on laurels. His ambition drove him to the fringes of his domain, where the fierce and nomadic Massagetæ awaited. Led by their queen, Tamiris, they proved to be a formidable opponent. The campaign against the Massagetæ was marked by cunning strategies and brutal clashes. Cyrus, ever the tactician, devised a plan to lure his enemies into a trap by feigning retreat and leaving behind a feast laced with wine. The Massagetæ, unaccustomed to alcohol, fell into his snare, and a bloody skirmish ensued. But Queen Tamiris, enraged by the loss of her son in the battle, regrouped her forces and struck back with unrelenting ferocity. In the chaos of combat, Cyrus fell, his life extinguished amid the cries of war. The exact details of his death remain shrouded in legend, but one truth endures. Even in death, Cyrus was a giant of history. His body was returned to Pasargadae, the city he had built as a symbol of Persian unity and identity. There There he was laid to rest in a modest tomb, an austere structure that reflected his values of humility and service. The inscription on his tomb reads, "O man, whoever you are, I am Cyrus, who founded the Persian Empire." These words echo across time, a testament to a ruler who understood that greatness lay not in ostentation, but in the enduring impact of one's deeds. While his mortal life ended, Cyrus's legacy was only beginning. His death did not unravel the empire he had built. Instead, it paved the way for his successors to expand and refine his vision. Darius I, perhaps the greatest of his heirs, inherited Cyrus's administrative framework and elevated it to new heights. The satrapy system became more sophisticated under Darius, who also introduced the use of a standardized currency and improved infrastructure like the royal road. Cyrus's policies of tolerance and inclusion set the cultural tone for an empire that thrived on diversity. The Achaemenid Empire, built on the foundations laid by Cyrus, became a model for governance in the ancient world. By allowing local customs and religions to flourish, Cyrus created a sense of unity in diversity that set his empire apart from others. His principles of rule influenced not only his immediate successors, but also those who came long after. Alexander the Great, upon conquering Persia, reportedly wept at the tomb of Cyrus, recognizing him as a kindred spirit and a ruler of unparalleled vision. Cyrus's influence extends far beyond the ancient world. In modern times, he is celebrated as a pioneer of human rights and a symbol of enlightened leadership. The Cyrus cylinder, which proclaims his commitment to tolerance and justice, has been called the world's first charter of human rights. Leaders across history have drawn inspiration from his example, from 18th century philosophers during the Enlightenment to 20th century figures advocating for human dignity and equality. Historians too regard Cyrus with admiration. His ability to wield power with wisdom and restraint sets him apart from the autocrats and despots who so often litter the annals of history. As Herodotus observed, Cyrus possessed a rare gift, the ability to win both battles and hearts. His legacy as a unifier and innovator continues to resonate, serving as a reminder of the enduring power of respect and inclusion. Yet, the story of Cyrus the Great cannot simply end with his death. His life invites reflection, not only on the empire he built, but also on the values he championed. His story challenges us to consider what it means to lead with purpose and vision. As we delve into the conclusion of his tale, we are left with questions that transcend time. How does one achieve greatness? And what ultimately is the measure of a legacy? As I reflect on the life of Cyrus the Great, I am struck by the sheer magnitude of his achievements. He was more than a conqueror. He was a visionary, a leader who saw beyond the narrow confines of power and sought to create something lasting, something meaningful. His conquests were monumental, uniting lands as diverse as Lydia, Babylon, and Media into the first great Persian Empire. But Cyrus did not stop at borders or armies. He built bridges between cultures, fostering unity in a world fractured by division. His reign was not about dominance, but about connection, a rare and remarkable legacy in the annals of history. Cyrus's governance was a masterpiece of innovation. The creation of satrapies, his decentralized system of administration, ensured that even the most distant provinces felt part of his empire. His policies of religious and cultural tolerance, epitomized by the Cyrus cylinder, set a standard for leadership that transcended his time. He gave freedom where others had imposed chains, allowed faiths to flourish where others sought to destroy. The Jews, exiled and broken, were allowed to return to their homeland and rebuild their temple, a gesture that cemented his place not only in history, but also in the hearts of those he liberated. But perhaps what is most extraordinary about Cyrus is how he wielded power. His strength was undeniable, his military genius unmatched. Yet he understood that true power comes from respect, not fear. His empire was not a patchwork of subjugated lands, but a symphony of diverse voices. Each territory, each culture was allowed to retain its essence, enriching the whole. It is this combination of strength and humanity that sets Cyrus apart, making him a ruler not just for his age, but for all time. Even as the centuries have passed, Cyrus's ideals continue to resonate. His principles of governance and tolerance laid the foundation for empires that followed, from the Achaemenids to the Romans. His policies have found echoes in modern concepts of human rights and multicultural governance. The Cyrus cylinder, often called the first charter of human rights, serves as a testament to his vision. It reminds us that leadership is not about enforcing conformity, but about embracing diversity. In a world where these lessons are often forgotten, Cyrus stands as a beacon of what is possible when power is tempered by compassion. His legacy extends beyond governance. Cyrus inspired figures as varied as Alexander the Great, who revered him as a kindred spirit, and Enlightenment philosophers, who saw in him a model of rational leadership. Even today, his story speaks to those who seek to lead with wisdom and empathy. He remains a symbol of what it means to rule with vision, to wield power with purpose, and to leave behind a world better than the one he inherited. As we bring this journey through the life of Cyrus the Great to a close, I invite you to linger on his story. It is a tale not just of one man, but of the values he championed, values that continue to shape our world in ways both seen and unseen. I hope his life inspires you, as it has inspired me, to think about what true greatness means. It is not the monuments or the armies, but the ideas and the humanity we leave behind. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the life of one of history's greatest leaders. I hope you found this story as captivating and enriching as I did. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to ASMR History for more soothing